Yo, yo, what's going on? It's your boy Lamar, and we back, baby. I do not know what episode this is, but yeah, we're gonna get straight to it, man. We're gonna get straight to it. It's been a minute since I did some long form content. I really just been doing a lot of shorts, just going through a lot of the properties, a lot of the processes that I've been learning. And so, we getting close to the end of the year. So I just thought, I just go through some of the lessons I've learned over the past year, with flipping seven, close to 10 properties. I think I might be missing a few. And that's one of the problems right there is my organization. I think this year in particular exposed a lot of organization skills about myself, a lot of flaws in my organization. Just something as simple as like today, well, I put a property under contract today. Well, I take that back. Look at that. We got some money on the way. So yeah, so I have a property in the contract in Atlanta, and basically I forgot that the gas was not on. And so we're under contract. And so instead of due diligence being 10 days like it originally was, it's going to be about 17, 18 days. And that's my fault because I don't have an assistant. I don't have nobody helping me to remember that, hey, you got to get this gas turned on. I have a template, that I'm trying to abide by, but if you're working on so many properties, a lot of stuff get lost. So, I definitely lack organizational skills this year. And, I'm not afraid to say that. It's just been a lot of little things when you talk about, especially like utilities and stuff like that. I think it exposed a lot, and that's just something that I got to work on. And also, just to add on to, what we talking about, I think volume exposed a lot of weaknesses for myself. Essentially, it sounds good. It sounds good to do a lot of flips at one time. It sounds really good. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't have those organizational skills, if you don't have systems, it could get bad really fast. And I think in particular, what happened was for me, I think a lot of those flips, they ran over time. And when you run over time, like I spoke on it so many times, it's the loans, the hard money eats you up. You have so many, payments. This year alone, I personally think I probably paid over in monthly payments. If it's not that much, it's close to it. Maybe I would say 75 to 100 grand in monthly payments between all of those properties. What's funny, what I got in return, I just got my end of the year gift from the mortgage company that I was working with, or the hard money lender I was working with. They gave me some fucking honey. You know what? I'm gonna go get this honey real quick. Yes. With me, we're working with this mortgage company or this hard money lender. It's been a great relationship. It really has been, because they allowed me to see what was possible. They truly did allow me to see what was possible and what I could do inside this business. And I didn't default on one payment this year. Everything was paid on time. I did, like I said, it's actually, I think I did close to 10 flips this year. 10. I did Bird Street, Larchmont, Brandon, Oakwood, Cannon Woods, Arnold Place, Yorkdale, I think I said Red Maple. But yeah, it's like close to 10 flips this year. And I'm grateful. I'm extremely grateful to test my ability. And it was extremely, extremely stressful. I've cried a lot of nights. I've been stressed a lot of nights, with just this learning process. It was an extreme learning curve. And the thing about me is, a lot of people pay to be mentored, and then I've never had a mentor in this business. And it's so funny because the first flip I ever did by myself, I made 80 grand. So if you make that type of money on your first flip, you don't think you need nobody. Let's just keep it a buck. And so, after that, the learning curve came. I just got lucky. I got lucky on my first flip. And so after that, the learning curve has definitely kicked in. And so, like I said, I think this year, the volume exposed a tremendous amount of weaknesses that have to be improved. That it has to be, improved ASAP. And when I talk about that, it's bad budgeting, weak contractor management, not necessarily slow decision making, but taking, just too much time, improving properties. I did that tremendously. And poor cash flow discipline. I think those were all things that I have to improve on. And I think it's also you know, things that I can't control that I have to improve on as well, and manage those expectations and manage, relationships. It's a lot of things to improve when you're doing a certain amount of volume. So, so let's just get back to, this lender real quick. So I literally probably made them over the last year in monthly payments, interest, and all those type of things. And like I said, they don't owe me anything. They've given me as much as I could have asked for. But to receive some honey as a Christmas gift, to receive some honey as a Christmas gift is diabolical. I mean, you'd have made somebody over $100,000. Now they did give me an iPad, but I kind of won the iPad. But to receive some honey for Christmas is crazy. But hey, it is what it is. I've actually found another lender. And that's another thing too. When I speak on these things, like the only reason I was actually doing all of this volume was to build a relationship. It was to build a relationship because they promised me a down payment that was actually based off of ARV and, rehab budget and all of that. It wasn't necessarily true. Like it's based off the properties that you got this certain ARV. And that could be a lie in itself. It could be based off credit. All I know is I found somebody that is going to be way less than that. And, I'm in the process of seeing how that relationship goes, as we speak. But yeah, that's, first and foremost, the first thing that, I've learned over the last year is that the volume exposed my weaknesses. The second thing that kind of ran into is profit is made in discipline, not design. And when I say that, as I've said on, a couple pods back, I'm not doing anything extra no more. Extra is gone. I'm not doing anything extra. Perfection does not pay. Efficiency pays. Perfection does not pay. And you can see the HGTV, you can see all of that. That's cool. That's cool. But I guarantee you, a lot of those people who are doing it that way, you can't do it at scale. And I'm trying to scale. I'm trying to expand. And the only way to expand and scale is to not be caught up in perfection and learning how to be disciplined. So, that's just another thing that I'm, just trying to work on. And, just not doing any emotional upgrades. The boring finishes is predictable profit. And, that's something that I'm truly trying to work on. And learning how to manage cash flow better this year is actually something that I'm working on as well. When you talk about carrying costs, forecasting how much carrying costs are you going to actually have, instead of, and this business has always been about, for me, it's about being extremely optimistic. You can't be optimistic. You cannot be optimistic. You have to be realistic. And I think, let's just say, for instance, my Birth Street property, I had that property for over a year. And I thought I was going to have that property 6 months. So you talk about 6 months, an extra 6 months of $2,000 a year. That's $12,000. So just got to be better in that type of stuff. And another thing is, contractors are not your friends. Contractors are not, you're not buddy. I do not care how cool you think you are with contractors. It's not what it seems. Not by any means, not by any stretch of the imagination. Unless, that's somebody somebody you've done, I'm going to say at least 5 to 10 flips. I'm not even going to say 2 or 3. Just because you done did 2 or 3 flips with a contractor, you can't trust them yet. You cannot trust them yet. You gotta build that up, 5, 10 years or something. Not 10 years, but 5 to 10 properties or 5 to 10 years before you can really, say that you trust somebody. And just even then, it's a lot that goes into trusting people. And when you in this business, what I've learned is the more you trust somebody and the more you build a relationship, a lot of times, they start to slack. So building that relationship is kind of like you kind of got to keep everybody, at a distance, at a respectable distance. And so that's just something that I've, been working on and trying to learn for myself, as we get through this. And, on top of everything, I would say that speed beats perfection. It's all about being in and out, being in and out, and, hitting those home runs when they come. But we're not after home runs. We're not after home runs ever again. I don't care about the home runs. I want to be efficient. I want to be in and out. And whatever property can provide me that's the property I'm going after. And just, managing the cash flow. A house that I could put on the market in 30 days is a good house to me. If I can make 25 grand off a house I could put on the market in 30 days, I'm taking that versus thinking that I want to get this $75,000 profit, but it's going to take me 6 months. Nah, I'm taking that 25 grand and moving on to the next. And, at some point we get enough capital where we can grab that other property and put it in the pool of other properties. I'm tripping right now. But yeah. So that's just something else that I'm kind of seeing and just perfecting these systems, man. I will not stop repeating this. Like, real estate is all about systems. I know everybody hears all the time. I mean, any business is all about systems, standard rehab templates, standard finishing packages, standard repeatable vendors, clear checklists, simple math. That's all that matters in this business. And, your time is your real bottleneck. You gotta get in and out ASAP. I want to just keep repeating that. And also too, like the small mistakes, they compound brutally. They compound, you wouldn't imagine. So I got a situation right now where, it's just like, okay, um, I thought I had to replace 3 or 4 windows, and I calculated in my head it was gonna be about $500. Then the guy, he went out there, he was like, "Hey, man, these are double pane windows." And so that $300 or $400 went to $1,600. Then also too, I had siding on the back of the house that, it's a lot of little holes in the siding. And so I'm calculating that to be about another 1,500. So now I got to ask myself, okay, this roof is pretty good. It would be better if I replaced it, but it's in okay condition. So I'm going to move that money. I'm going to reallocate that money to the siding, to the windows, and I'm just going to worry about the roof on the back end. And also too, what I'm going to do is drop the price a little bit just to kind of give that idea that, hey, this is affordable. We have some minor areas, but we're priced accordingly in this market, in this area in particular. And at the end of the day, man, I think the most important thing is flipping is a business. It's not a side hustle. And it takes a long time to get it to a place where it's passive income versus active income. And I think that's the most important thing that I've learned is that this is not a passive income industry. Whoever tells you that flipping is a passive income, I would assume that they've had 20, 30 years experience. And well, honestly, flipping, it cannot be a passive income industry. Like it's active. You have to be in this. And if you're not in this, you have other people who are in this. So it's not a side hustle. It's not passive. This is strictly active income, and you gotta love it. And from what I've been through, and the things that I've been through and seen over the last year, I think I can come out of this saying that I truly do love being in this business. I love controlling my time. I love seeing the end product. I love seeing the type of families I'm putting in the house, and I love the money. Let's be real about that. Now, I love the money that this business produce. And it's a lot of good things that come along with this as well. So yeah, I just wanted to get on here and just speak on these things a little bit. And we just gonna keep rocking. We gonna keep going into 2026 harder than ever. And yeah, stay tuned.